Welcome back to our channel, and today's topic is all about the Philippines under the Japanese puppet government. Okay? The main objectives of the Japanese of putting a puppet government and the puppet president named Jose P. Laurel, the puppet president of the Philippines during 1943 to 1945. The purpose is to prevent use of the Philippines as an advanced American military base, to acquire staging areas and supply bases to enhance operation, to secure communication lines from Japanese home island, right from the Philippines. How Japanese conquered the Philippines? Japanese invaded the Manchuria and then China, French Indochina, the Dutch East Indies, and afterwards they are hitting the Philippines. And here are the reports on the Philippines under Japanese puppet government. The main objectives of the Japanese government of making a puppet government in the Philippines, presided by the president of this time, Jose P. Laurel, the puppet president also of the Japanese. The objective is to prevent the use of the Philippines as an advanced American military base, to acquire staging areas, to secure communication lines. The Pacific War, Japan invaded the Manchuria, China, French Indochina, and Dutch East Indies, and then the Philippines. The USAF is the U.S. Army Forces in the Far East, led by General Douglas MacArthur. The Philippine National Red Cross conducted by the practice of evacuation in Manila in July 10, 1941. U.S. battleships row in Pearl Harbor, Nevada, Arizona, Tennessee. Manila as an open city, December 26, 1941. Japanese in Manila, January 2, 1942, Japanese forces entered in Manila. General Douglas MacArthur escaped March 11, 1942 under President Roosevelt. General Douglas MacArthur left Corregidor and went to Australia. Corregidor, the tadpole-shaped or defensive fort of 3 square miles, island of the mouth of Manila Bay, had 3 supporting islands. The fall of Bataan, April 9, 1942, under General Edward Ned P. King Jr., Bataan surrendered to the Japanese forces under the command of Lieutenant General Masaharu Huma. The Death March, 70-kilometer march. Infamous Bataan Death March was one of the greatest atrocities of World War II. More than 75 U.S. Filipinos soldiers died, 75,000. Phase 1, march the prisoners 19 miles to Pampanga. Phase 2, load the prisoners into 200 trucks. Phase 3, prisoners march 8 more miles to Camp O'Donnell. Bataan Death March route, Maribelis to San Fernando, Pampanga, 55 km. San Fernando, Pampanga to Capas Tarlac, travel by train, herded into box cart. Capas Tarlac to Camp O'Donnell, walk 7 km to prison camp. Reforming the Philippine government, December 2, 1942, the Kalibapi, kapisanan ng paglilingkod sa bagong Pilipinas. The Puppet Republic, October 14, 1943, the Second Republic, Japanese-sponsored republic. Jose P. Laurel, the President, Benigno Aquino Sr., Vice President, Antonio de las Alas, Minister of Finance, Claro Recto. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Quintin Paredes. Ministry of Agriculture, Jose Yolo, Chief Justice of the Court. Teofilo Sison, Minister of Justice. Jose Bella, Acting Executive Secretary. Five mortal enemies of Filipino: the Japanese military, diseases, the guerrillas, hunger, Japanese paid Filipino spies. Social condition of the people: live with fear from Japanese atrocities. Many people died of starvation. Comfort women increased, rape and abuse by Japanese official. Economic condition: Mickey Mouse money, the currency used during the Japanese era. Malnutrition was rampant. Kangkong became a common food to fight hunger. Thank you, kangkong. The Japanese influences livelihood. The Filipinos learned to engage in different business, like buy and sell and barter trade to earn a living. In literature, Filipinos were encouraged to write on a condition that they would use Tagalog as a medium. The Hukbalahap, hukbo ng bayan laban sa Hapon, People Anti-Japanese Army 1942, led by Luis Taruk. The leader of Hawks: Luis Taruk, Castro Alejandrino, Bernardo Poblete, Eusebio Aquino, Filipa Culala, Lope de la Rosa, Mariano Franco. Japanese collaborators: Ganaps serve as spies for Japanese military authorities. Palahulanis acted as guide for Japanese on their efforts to arrest people who supported the guerrilla cause. Reconquering the Philippines. October 20, 1944, American fleet on Palo Leyte together with General Douglas MacArthur and Sergio Osmeña landed. October 24 to 26 of 1944, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, greatest naval battle history. It is almost destroyed the entire Japanese fleet, said to have signed the beginning of Philippine liberation from the Japanese. January 9, 1945, American in Lingayen Gulf. February 3, 1945, American entered the Manila. April 26, Baguio was captured. June 4, General Douglas MacArthur declared independence of the Philippines from Japanese invasion. July 4, 1945, completed liberating Luzon. August 6 to 9, 1945, atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Emperor Hirohito declared the surrender of Japanese troops. September 2, 1945, formal end of the World War II. In Asia, after signing the treaty on board USS Missouri on Tokyo Bay, Japanese surrendered during this time. September 3, 1945, Apari, Cagayan, the last Japanese army troops surrendered under General Tomoyoki Yamashita, and the place of surrendering was the Kiangan Hill of the Cordillera. Okay guys, here are the questions for you to answer. Same as usual, send your answered paper or the soft copy JPEG right here in our Google Classroom. Hand it in or send it directly to our email, and then keep the hard copy, and it will be submitted after pre-final. Okay, let's start with your quiz. Question number 1: is the Philippines a puppet state during the World War II? Who is the president of the puppet government? Why it is called puppet government? What is the objective of the Pact of Alliance that was signed between the new Philippine Republic and the Japanese government? Why did the US free Philippines? Who founded Diaryong Tagalog? who made the Filipino First policy? What is the role of Sirio Osmeña in the Philippines? What is meant by a puppet government? Well, thank you so much, and subscribe and also make a lot of comments on every videos, for it will serve as your attendance. Thank you so much. Ciao for now.